Hi everybody, in this video we're going to take a look at the if function in Excel. One of the more simple functions in Excel and probably very heavily used, but a very powerful function in its simplicity. So let's kind of jump right in and I'll kind of explain as we go along here. The if function is a logical function. So what that means is it takes a logical test as the first argument and it evaluates that test whether to be true or false, and then it will return a value if true and a value if false depending on that outcome. As you can see, our three arguments here. So let's start off with something simple. So we'll say if 1 less than 2 is true, then we want to return true. And in this case, we could type out the string value true in between double quotes, but it's actually a logical value in Excel, as you can see there. I can double click on that. Then I'll hit a comma and I'll start typing false. And there we have that. We'll double click that. We'll close our parentheses. And as you would expect, knowing that 1 is in fact less than 2, we should get the value of true. And there you go. So if we change this to 1 equals 2, we know that that will evaluate to be false. And sure enough, we get the value of false. So now that you've kind of got the general idea of what the if function does, it's got three different arguments. It's got the logical test, and then the value if that logical test evaluates to be true, and the value if that evaluates to be false. So let's hop over here to another tab where we've got more examples. And so in this case, we're not evaluating literal values, literal strings, or literal numbers. Although we could do that, we're going to actually evaluate values in cell references. And this is something you'll probably be seeing more of in your own work. So wanted to just show you how that works. So on the first row here, we've got a simple logical test. If A2 equals B2, return the value 1. If it's not equal, return the value 0. Of course, we know 1 does equal 1. So we're getting the value 1, which is our value if true. On row 2, we're doing the same evaluation, but a different set of values, and we're using the logical values true and false like we did on the first example on the introduction tab or the introduction worksheet. And so we know that 1 does not equal 2, so it's returning the value of false. So on row 4 and 5, what we've got is a situation where we are evaluating cell references to be equal using string values. And not only that, we've actually used our value if true to be the value in cell reference A4. So we're saying if A4 equals B4, return the value in A4. If it's false, what we've done is we've typed in two double quotes with nothing in between, which is the way you type blank in these formulas. So we're saying if cell A4 does not equal B4, just return a blank. So here's our outcome, here's our values, and here's our outcome on row 4. On row 5, we're trying to evaluate, is green equal to red? Of course it's not, so it's returning that blank. On row 6, we're using dollar amounts similar to what we did with numbers, but what we've done here is we're evaluating if the value in A6 is less than B6. And then we're saying if it is, return the value of true is going to be the value in A6. If it's not true, if it's false, we want it to return the value in B6. So there's another alternative on how you can do things, depending on your scenario, depending on your needs. So in fact, $29.95 is less than 30, so it's returning the value of $29.95. And so we've drugged this formula down, but notice we locked our cell B6 because we just want to continue to use that as a value that we're evaluating against the value in column A. So again, we're asking, is the value in A7 or $32.95 less than $30, the value in B6? And it's not, so we're having it return that value in B6, which is $30. So just another angle on how to use the if function. So one last example on rows 8 and 9. What we're doing here is we're actually using a calculation and evaluating that in our logical test. And so that calculation is A8 minus B8. And we're saying if that calculation is less than 0 or a negative value, just return 0. If it's not a negative number, return the value of the calculation itself. And so you notice on row 9 here, 4 minus 1 is 3, a positive value, so it's returning that value. So just another angle, another look at the things that you can use in your different arguments in an if function to see the power as you just kind of progress along. So there you have it, the if function.